battery-powered reversible cutoff tool from Ryobi. Want to know more? Well, we're going to give it to you when we get back. I'm Tim Johnson. You're watching Shop Tool Reviews. If you haven't heard yet, Ryobi just a few short days ago announced and released a complete new lineup of tools. Now they're calling it their ONE+ HP Compact Series. Now there's 6 tools in this bunch. You get a drill, an impact driver, an impact wrench, a right angle drill, a one-handed reciprocating saw, and a 3-inch cutoff tool. Now all of these have a brushless motor and they're all powered by their ONE+ 18-volt platform, and they will take advantage of the lithium plus batteries. So all of their new battery technology is going to work best with their brushless tools. Now what they're aiming at is not only that DIY sector that they've always been really keen on, they're also after the pro. So before, where we just said, hey, they kind of fall in the hands of those entry-level pros, well, Ryobi is going straight at them and going with their compact lineup to the pros and saying, hey, we want you to use these. And we knew there were several things we could use a cutoff tool on, so we took it out in the shop, we took it to other shops, played around with it, used it. Now we're going to give you our feedback. So we're going to use the Ryobi ONE+ HP cutoff tool, just cutting off some various things from angle iron to flat bar to rebar, and then we'll even cut a couple other things, some conduit, maybe even a piece of tile, and just see how well it does. Now it comes with this wire foot here, call it a wire, a guard, what have you, but the guard stays on, but you can take off the wire foot just by taking, by the way, you can adjust the height of it as well, but I'm going to go ahead and take it off. I've learned that, I've used this for a little bit now, I've learned that on some things I like the guard off of it, but I thought I would like it off all the time, but I'll show you where I really like it. Right here though, like cutting angle, I like the guard off of it. And by the way, you can also index this guard in various ways. So you see it's got indexing points here where I can turn it. And then also, depending on where you're throwing the sparks, so if I wanted to cut on the top here, I can just slide my rocker switch over. I can push that through, and now I'm throwing sparks the other way. So that's a really nice feature that you're not going to find on an air tool. You're not going to back up an air tool. Typically, there are some air tools that do that, but a lot of times that's a great feature. When you are throwing sparks, or depending on where you're at with the tool, with the offset of the tool as well, where you want to back the wheel up or turn it the different direction. So let's see how well it cuts here. So it's definitely not lacking power, and by the way, I'm running the 1.5 amp hour battery pack that comes kitted with some of these tools. I'm not sure if you'll be able to get it kitted with this, but definitely with the drill and impact driver. And this is their specific new 1.5 amp hour battery that does have the fuel gauge on it, but it does consume this battery pretty quickly on this tool. But anyway, let's go ahead and finish these cuts here. But as far as power, it's not really lacking power, and you can tell that I haven't cut the tool out yet. It hasn't gone into an electronic cutout at all. So that's cutting some 1.5 inch angle iron. So typical cuts in the shop, very easy to cut that. I should say very easy. I mean, you're not ripping through it like a bigger saw, but again, no cutout at all, being able to cut right through it without a problem. Rebar. Cut through that. I think that's 5/8 rebar. I believe my battery is about shot. So that is one recommendation I have for this tool, is to definitely step up to a bigger battery. So as I was mentioning, I would definitely recommend going up to at least a 3 or 4 amp hour battery with the cutoff tool. You're going to get a lot longer runtime on it. You're even going to get a little bump in performance as well. Then it's going to power through things and still have plenty of battery power to make your cuts. Flat bar as well. So again, that's going to give you a lot longer runtime with a 4 amp hour battery, or even a 3 amp hour battery, and you can even go up to a 6. Changing these blades out are real easy. In fact, you get a tool. I don't know how long it'll last in here, but basically there's a hole right through the handle that the Allen key or the hex key goes into, and that's going to take off the arbor screw here. And by the way, you have a lockout. You have a lockout button right here, so you can lock that blade out. Oh well, I'll take off this battery. How's that? And then we can change this blade. And a couple of things here. Number one, my cutoff wheels, I like just a couple of brands. I've got the smaller arbor cutoff wheels. Like the ones that came with Ryobi have a larger arbor hole in them. So a little bit larger, but that's okay because Ryobi actually includes the flange for both of them. So now if I'm going to run this Ryobi wheel, I'm going to take this inner flange off, put the different flange on, now put my Ryobi wheel on, and make sure that outer flange goes in its hole. So it's nice that Ryobi includes that, so you can run that smaller diameter or the large diameter wheel without having to buy any accessories or anything else. And now again, my key can go back in here, and so it tucks away nicely. Again, I don't know how long that'll last in there. And then this is a great place that the actual wire foot actually works, comes in quite handy. So I'm going to go ahead and put that back on. Again, no tools necessary for that. Just T-nut or thumb screw here. It screws into the threaded hole. And so now I'm ready to go to cut tile or whatever type of blade you put on there. We've got a piece of tile here. And this is again where this blade guard comes in nice, because not only does that have a place for you to rest on, it's also going to keep your blade somewhat perpendicular with that foot on there. You can see it's definitely getting hot. Maybe something where you want to keep that wet. And this is a thicker tile. You can see when I overheat it, it does go into a cutout. And when that light's flashing, that tells me that it's in a cutout. And you'll see here, in Celsius. So yeah, I'm running 130, 150 degrees right here. So this thing's heating up quite well. So doing thicker tile seems like it may be stressing the tool out quite a lot. Maybe I could have added a little water to help keep that cool, or keep the blade cool, maybe cut through. But again, I'm not using it for tile work. As far as a cutoff tool, I think it worked well. I think it did great in cutting, you know, from angle iron to flat bar to sheet metal, and did really well. So here's just cutting your typical conduit. I think this is 3/4 inch conduit, not 1/2 inch. I'm sure it's going to cut through this no problem. So even real hard steel, like a spring, real tempered steel, it's really going to be more a blade selection, but it shouldn't have a problem cutting through this either. Yeah, so not a problem at all. So one of the first things we actually used it on was we actually cut the floorboard out of a vehicle to access the fuel pump, so the tank didn't have to be dropped. But anyway, had no problem cutting sheet metal. In fact, during that job, it never went into the electronic cutout or the electric cutout where it actually overheats and senses that and shuts down the tool. By the way, that's a safety characteristic. If you see the LED flashing and you've been using it a while, it's probably gotten pretty hot. It's gone into kind of a shutdown. Once it cools down, you can pull the battery pack out, put it back in, and you should be good to go. So that's a safety characteristic where the software in the tool is telling it to shut down because it doesn't like something in there. So that didn't happen once on that first job where we used it to actually cut out that floor plan. Now, as you saw over on the workbench and on the welding table, you saw we actually hit that a couple of times. If we're showing that, we were doing some long slices in some 60 thousandths thick metal. Now, I will say that what we've determined is this is a great and handy tool. Now, some of these tools, like the drill and impact driver, will come kitted with their 1.5 amp hour battery, which, by the way, now has a fuel gauge on it, which is awesome. So the smaller batteries actually have a fuel gauge on it. But we would definitely not recommend this tool with the 1.5 amp hour battery. It's just not going to do a lot of cutting. Now, if you know that you're never going to do a lot of cutting, then by all means, grab you a 1.5 amp hour battery and be good to go. We would definitely recommend a 3, 4, 6 amp hour battery with this cutoff tool, because it's just going to pull a lot of power as it's cutting through, whether you're cutting metal, whether you're cutting tile or what. Now, what the tool comes with, it comes with an abrasive blade for cutting steel, metals, things like that. It also comes with a blade to cut, you know, PVC, cement board, or PVC plastics, vinyl, things like that. And then it also comes with like a tile blade for cutting tile, cement board, and those sorts of things. It also comes, this was nice to have because Ryobi, I think, uses a 3/8 inch hole for the arbor here. My cutoff disc that I like to use, that I get from our welding supply place, has the smaller hole. I don't remember the size, but it's a smaller hole. But they include the inner flange that adapts to that smaller hole as well. So that's nice. You get an extra flange with the tool, so it'll accept the larger hole as well as the smaller hole for these 3-inch cutoff discs. Now, I really liked the indexable guard here, as well as I thought I would take this wire foot off and not use it at all, but there were times that it definitely came in handy to cut, especially we were cutting some slices in some metal to repair that floor plan that we cut open. But anyway, this is a great and useful tool. It's not something that you're going to use to do mass production of cutting lots of sheet metal, lots of rebar. But for the handiness of doing small jobs, it's definitely a handy tool. It's not going to replace your recip saw. It's not going to replace a bandsaw, obviously. So it's a great supplemental tool that we would definitely recommend. It's 99 bucks for the bare tool. Comes with a 3-year warranty. So hey, you know what? Compared to the other tools that we've used like this, I really think this is probably just as good as the others we've used so far. And again, I'm just going to recommend you buy a bigger battery than just a 1.5 or 2 amp hour battery. You're going to a lot longer run time, better performance out of it, and you're just going to be happier with the tool. Hey, check them out. Again, it's the Ryobi HP 1 Plus compact tools, and specifically this is the 3-inch cutoff tool. All brushless motors, and they run on their 18-volt 1 Plus platform. Make sure you check them out at ryobitools.com. Also keep track of us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. Have a great day and go out and do something nice for someone.